Hey guys, welcome back to another episode, and wow, there is a lot to catch up on. It's been quite a few weeks since I've done a weekly check-in, and to be honest, this is kind of one of those weeks for me where I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, what is your maintenance calories really like right now, Holly? Like, what's going on? Quick recap. Last week, we were still in Vegas. See, look, I don't even know where I am right now. Last week, we were in Dubai. We had a 5-day kind of, I'll call it holiday. It definitely wasn't a holiday, but we did get to do a couple of sightseeing. And then the week before we had our Dubai muscle show event and our seminars. 2 weeks almost, I guess, front to back with traveling, not really having a gym to access, or at least one that was close by with all of the work stuff that was still going on. I am really trying to just woosah my way as I've gotten back, because I have gained probably 2.5 kilos since the last time I checked in with you guys, which is crazy. That's a lot, like that's nearly 5 pounds, guys, in a few weeks. And I honestly, and I think I even asked Lane this, I said to him when we were away, when we just got back, I was like, do you think that I really ate that bad or poorly? Like, did I make so many really bad judgment calls that were just so calorically dense? Like, what, did you see me doing anything weird? And honestly, his answer was no. I think he had a really great, like very balanced mindset to, you know, all of the travel that we're doing. But I think the key difference for me was, number one, my sleep was absolutely terrible. And we know how that can influence not only our appetite regulating hormones the following day. If you do kind of have a bit more disrupted sleep, makes it significantly harder to be adherent. You end up eating a lot more because there is so many hormones driving you to eat in that situation. But also just like, I was stressed, and because I wasn't sleeping, I was fatigued. And that's an old habit for me, you know, I've talked about this so much. So I definitely found myself in the couple of like days leading up to our presentations, I was definitely very anxious. I'm such an anxious speaker, but you know, I think I was probably just, you know, doing a little bit less mindful eating during that time. And perhaps that was a contributing factor. But the other key thing that really made it hard was not really knowing where I was going to train or when I was going to train and what I would have access to. So, fault of my own, I didn't plan a training program, and I haven't had a program for the last, I'm gonna say 2.5 weeks now. I have one as of this week, but I didn't write myself a new program, and that's been a habit that I have done for years. So obviously you've seen some of those programs in their real life form on the Workout Builder, but I've always done that. So usually somewhere between 4 and 6 week training programs, and then, you know, the last week I'll write myself a new one. And because I knew we were coming up to Dubai, and I didn't know how much time I was going to have or if we would even get to a gym, I was like, how about you just take this more reactively? So when you get into the gym, or sorry, when you get to the hotel, go and check out what's in the gym. You know, is it worth staying at that hotel, or do we have to go and travel to find somewhere to go and work out? And just kind of take it easy, because I always have been pretty structured and regimented with my training. So I thought this might be a nice little time to relax a bit on how structured I am with my program. And now kind of looking back, I'm happy that I did that. It wouldn't have worked having a structured program because we didn't have a squat rack, didn't have access to a deadlifting platform that could accommodate the amount of weights that we needed. I think they had a barbell and then like a platform, but there was like two 20 kilogram weight plates. So I was like, that's not gonna cut it. So, you know, writing a program would have been pointless. So yeah, I think my energy expenditure was just really down. We did do a lot of steps, which I'm going to show you in my coaching sheets here in a moment, but I don't think that it really counted for the differences in energy intake from snacking and not really having a huge variety of foods immediately accessible. We were in a hotel that didn't really have close walking distance or access to a grocery store, and we didn't have time to kind of, you know, go driving around Dubai for the grocery store. We didn't have a fridge in our hotel room. It's just not how I would have planned it, so it was very challenging. Usually when we travel, like the first thing I'm doing is I'm organizing like a nice hotel, big spacious room with a kitchen so I can cook. We get a rental car. I'm planning it close to a place that's got, lots of fresh fruit and produce available, those types of things, and a gym, like either in the hotel or very close. So it's convenient, the same way that we kind of live our lifestyle here. There are so many kind of factors that were contributing to, I think, a little bit of weight gain, and then I got to the end of it and I was just like, fuck it. And I definitely just remember going to town on a couple of like chocolates and things on the way back on the flight. So anyway, let's go and have a look at my data for the week. And I'm actually going to show it to you on my coaching sheets, or Team Biolayne's coaching sheets. So for any of you that have potentially wondered about one-on-one coaching, what does that look like? What's the format that these guys deliver their coaching with? You're going to see that on my sheets right now. So let's duck over to my office. And then if you guys have any questions about any of the stuff that you see today, please make sure you comment and ask, as I will be definitely in there on those comments responding to you guys. So let's go check it out. Okay guys, so here we are looking at the Biolayne coaching check-in sheet. So I've actually just put in all of my data for the last couple of weeks, just so that you can kind of get a good look at it all, see what's going on, and then I'm going to talk through why I think the changes that have happened. There's lots of data here to kind of justify those things. So this first sheet here that you're looking at is actually kind of like the client's tracking sheet. So this is what, if you were working with one of our coaches, this is what you would kind of spend most of your time inputting data into. You can see here there's a space for all of your macronutrients, your fiber. It automatically calculates your calories for you. There's a space here for your weight entries, resistance training, hit, miss, steps, females out there, yes or no for monthly cycle. There's a bunch of things, and then there's where we do our video recordings, so we can paste those in over the side here. But what I want to show you today is, I guess, some of the trends for me over the last couple of weeks. So you can see here we're dating back to the week before we went away to Dubai, and I can tell you that week for me was incredibly stressful. So I am not somebody that enjoys public speaking. In fact, Brian and I, who's filming right now, we were just laughing because I always have my heart rate monitor on when I'm recording videos, anything. And it's now just a joke. It's like, how high can Holly's heart rate get today when she's filming? So just me standing in front of the camera, my heart rate was at like 115 beats per minute today, and it's been pretty close to 130. So anyways, coming over to have a look at this past week's data. Very stressed, obviously leading up to going away. I was doing a little bit of rehearsing. I was still putting all the finishing touches on my presentations. And for most nights of the week, I'd say I was probably here at the office until like 10 o'clock, kind of just finishing that in addition to some of the other work tasks that I had due before we were away. So you can see here my weight average for the week before we left was 65.1. So I also got my cycle this week, so my weight was probably starting to trend up just before that anyway. So as we scroll across here, you can see my macro targets. I was at 140 protein, 215 carb, 62 fat, and then my fiber intake or target has been somewhere between 25 and 30. And then as we scroll across here, you can see what all of my actual intakes were. So this column over here looks at the total calories for that particular day. But then if we come across to this far column, you can see what my actual average calorie intake was. So I was actually a little bit low on my compliance that particular week. But my protein was very low. So you can see here, 91% compliant to my protein. So that probably suggests that my carbohydrates and fats were at least more than what they probably should have been. So the next part of this little column here, or this sheet, is the exercise and activity logs. So you can see here my training sessions, the total number of minutes for each of those, and then I've got my step count and any other cardio that I've performed. So that particular week, my training had been at about 360 minutes or 90-minute sessions each. I still did one hit session on the Stairmaster, and my average steps was around 12,000. Now, As we move into the week that we're away, it actually looks like I've done a little bit more resistance training, but I think the problem with this is that these sessions, based on my recollection, were significantly lower intensity. They were kind of, like one of them was a full body workout in like the hotel gym, which had like 3 pieces of equipment, and I just couldn't exert the same amount of effort that I normally would. So despite my minutes being up, giving me the kind of appearance that I'm doing more, I know that the intensity wasn't there and my energy expenditure would have been down from that previous week. The other thing that is interesting here is that my average steps are also a little bit higher. So maybe there's a little bit of balancing out because I did some more activity from steps, and we were doing a lot of walking around the expo, back and forth from the hotel. So I was definitely moving around more. But if we come over and have a look at my diet during the week of the Dubai trip, or the working component of that week, my calories were actually a little bit over. So you can see here, I was 5% above my current maintenance calories. And I know for me, as somebody that probably has a less than optimal metabolism, I wish that I could say I have a fast metabolism, but I don't. That's probably pushing me very close to being outside my maintenance calorie range. You guys have probably heard me talk about that range before, and that it's probably anywhere in the realm of, say, 5 to 10%. And that means that if you overate by 5% or 10%, or you underate by 5 or 10%, not much is going to happen to your weight. But for some individuals, it might be a smaller range. And I do think that for me as an individual, based on some pretty hardcore tracking, I'm probably Pat, or one of those outliers that doesn't have quite as a high maintenance range as others. So I think that those two things in combination probably also contributed to why my weight went up to 66.1. So I went up a full kilo, or 2.2 pounds. The other thing that probably contributed to this, and I haven't got it tracked here, but for some of our elite athletes who are, competing, we do have a column for sodium. So I know that the food choices that I had while I was away were very limited. I kind of had to have what the hotels were providing, and they weren't very flexible at all, which was frustrating. So some of that's probably increased water weight due to the higher sodium food choices. If you think about traditional Middle Eastern type foods, there's a lot more emphasis on curries and sauces and things. And my gosh, they are tasty, but they're also very, very high in salt. And the other battle that I was contending with was fiber and IBS. Oh my God. So this is where my whole trip just made me miserable. So I'm used to eating, a pretty decent amount of fiber. If you follow all of my Instagram posts and stories, you'll see I have 2 giant stir-fry veggies every day. And I average about 25 grams. So you can see here the week before I went away, my average fiber intake was 23. Look what happens to it when I get to Dubai. And look at this area here, which I've highlighted for the next 10 days. 7, 6, 7, 18. I know that 18 was because I had a couple protein bars. 7, 10, 13. So really low fiber. So that was really making it hard for my digestion. I felt like garbage because nothing was moving through, and I just felt very bloated, very uncomfortable. And then the other thing, which again may have contributed to a little bit more weight on the scale, especially by the time I came home at 68.5, was the fact that I was contending with IBS. So none of the hotel restaurants were able to alter the ingredients that were being used for some of the foods. So even down to if they had chicken on the menu or beef or something like that, a lot of these were already pre-marinated in garlic and onion. It's my favorite foods are garlic and onion, but I cannot have them or I just look like I'm pregnant for a couple of weeks. So I really struggled. And even when I had asked specifically, there was a couple of times when I had a reaction to those things, and it's so annoying. I feel like I'm the most difficult person when I go to a restaurant because I'm asking all these questions and I bet they're like, meh. But honestly, like my quality of life when I can omit those foods is radically better. So I think for like 3 or 4 days, I didn't want to go anywhere, do anything. I was just in a lot of pain. And then I was angry and upset. And I'm pretty sure one day I finally found some like low FODMAP foods. And then because I was so hungry, look what happened. Like I overate, like just like anybody else would when you're hungry. Like you then kind of get to the point where you have the desire for more than is really required. So I had a couple of days like that just because I was so I was kind of trying to avoid things, and then that meant that I would undereat on certain days. You can see there's a day here where I only had 1,300 calories because I was like, Layne, I can't eat that. Like I'm just not gonna have anything for dinner. And then, you know, it was followed up with me being super hungry, 2,700 calories, way over my, my actual requirements, in which case that's when I'm starting to put on a little bit of weight. Let's shoot through to the final week and where I'm at now. So when I got home, I got on the scales the next morning. Not necessarily the smartest idea. Obviously I've been traveling, very inactive. You've probably got a little bit of fluid accumulation from flying, just circulation not being quite as good. And also eating plain food. And I didn't have a kitchen to prepare anything, which I'd normally do if I was coming on a plane somewhere. So I kind of had to have plain food, and guess what? It's all high in calories and IBS foods and salt. So yeah, I think I had 2,300 calories here on this day, and yeah, it didn't go so well. So the next morning, I remember going out for a walk in our neighborhood and I was like, oh, I feel like a little watermelon. It wasn't so much fun, but things are starting to trend back down now, which is good. So what am I gonna do? Like, I think a lot of people would see the kind of radical increase in weight on the scale. Like, you know, I'm talking 2.5 kilos or over 5 pounds. I'm not going to touch my calories, guys. I'm gonna leave them right where they are. I need to know for me that when I can get back onto my normal daily food routine, meal frequency, meal timing, fiber, you know, with my normal training program, that, you know, my weight will probably start to stabilize and I'll have a better idea about what my current maintenance calories are. And, you know, if you are changing your intakes quite frequently and they're dropping very low and going very high, there is every real chance that there is some adaptation taking place, especially if you just restricted your intake for, you know, a week or so. It's not like that isn't gonna have any impact. I couldn't say confidently that, oh yeah, you don't have to worry about it, it's just a week. We don't know. So I think it really is important to kind of reestablish what my maintenance is before I go making any changes. So that's our coaching sheets. That's my last few weeks. This week I actually am starting a brand new program and I can let you in on a little secret. So I have been talking to some of the officials from the IFBB while we're in Dubai, some of the announcers, some of the dinners we got together with, and I have had a really hard think about this. And I am going to compete in bikini in 2022 for IFBB. So that is a huge change. I just like a challenge, and it means that I'm going to have to lose a whole lot of size from a lot of areas, mostly my back and my arms. So my training program is going to be completely different. I'm basically going to be doing everything opposite of building, which means today's upper body session, I just did 3 exercises. That was it. So I'm really excited. It actually means that I get to do a little bit more cardio. So replacing some of my normal energy expenditure that would go towards resistance training is kind of actually being substituted for cardio. So I'm actually going to go back and do some kickboxing. I haven't done that in a long time, and I think that that will be a really fun form of cardio for me. I used to do that, loved it, but it's kind of like come full circle. I used to do a lot of cardio, wasn't helping me create the physique that I wanted, did all the building, and now I'm kind of probably over and above what I want to be. So now I'm kind of dipping back a little bit to find like a nice happy medium. So that's kind of what's on the cards for me for the next 6 months. And I think I plan to compete in the bikini division in July, I think end of July. It's like the first national qualifier. So that's exciting. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions about the coaching sheets, coaching, any of the stuff that I've talked about, please don't hesitate to ask or leave a comment. And until next time, I will see you then. Hey guys, me again. Don't miss out. Check out my recent free download of my metabolic adaptation slides that I've been presenting over the last 12 months. So if you guys are interested in learning more about metabolic adaptation, check out the description. The links are available. Go and grab a copy and download it today.